So my research topic was Marvel versus DC. So for the history of the Marvel Comics was created in 1939 by Martin Goodwin and Stan Lee, and in order to capitalize on the growing popularity, Goodwin created Timely Comics, and Timely Comics then later created Marvel Comics #1, which introduced many superheroes like the Human Torch and the Submariner. And Marvel has created many well-known superheroes like Spider-Man, Captain America, Black Panther, and Iron Man. So for the history of the DC Comics was created in 1934 by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson, and there were many names for the company, such as the National Allied Publications, the Detective Comics, and the National Periodical Publications, which was also known as the NPP. And the NPP was later then bought by the Warner Brothers, and they were officially named the DC Comics in 1977. And DC Comics has created many superheroes like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and many more. So, Captain America, which is a Marvel superhero, Captain America is just about a regular teenage boy from Brooklyn who was the subject to a science experiment, which eventually turned him into a hero who went on to fight the Nazis and Adolf Hitler. And this comic book was released before the US had even entered World War II. And he is a huge symbol of hope for many American citizens at the time, and he inspired many people to go fight in the war. So for the history of the comic books, the Golden Age, which is from 1938 to 1956, and during this time, DC Comics released the first comic book about Superman, and Batman was later produced less than a year later. And Marvel had released comic book #1, introducing the Human Torch and the Submariner. And after the Golden Age was the Silver Age between 1956 and 1970, and DC Comics released Batman and Robin during that time, and they also introduced the Flash. And during the Silver Age, Marvel released many comics and new heroes like the X-Men, Captain Marvel, and the Fantastic Four. And after the Silver Age was the Bronze Age, between 1970 to 1985, and this introduced a more realistic style of comic books. DC released heroes like the Green Arrow and the Green Lantern. And after the Bronze Age was the Dark Age between 1985 to 1996. And during this time, it was DC Comics' 50th anniversary. So they created and published the series Crisis on Infinite Earths. And the comic book Mouse was also published during the Dark Age. And after the Dark Age was the Modern Age, which is from 1996 to the present day. And during this time, writers decided to produce less comic books, but the ones they did produce were going to have much better quality. And comic books were being turned into films during this time. The popularity for comic books was not very high, but the movie X-Men helped bring the popularity back. So the competition between Marvel and DC goes all the way back to 1938 when Superman was released. Between then and now, there have been many superheroes by each company that are alike. For example, Stan Lee published the Fantastic Four, which is an alternative to DC's Justice League. And some differences between the companies is that Marvel adds humor to their stories, while DC keeps a more serious story with less jokes and less humor. So recent films between each company, Marvel released Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019, along with Avengers Endgame in 2019. They released Black Panther in 2018 and Captain Marvel in 2019. DC released Joker in 2019 along with Aquaman in 2018. And they also released a TV show on Netflix called The Flash. They released that in 2014. It has 7 seasons. And they also released another TV show which is on Netflix called Arrow. It has 8 seasons and it was created in 2012. And that's it.